everybody and welcome back to the United Stand and happy Friday. This is Darren Fletcher's press conference reaction to our FA Cup tie against Brighton. Darren Fletcher will walk out of Old Trafford as the Manchester United manager against Brighton in the FA Cup. The first trophy he won as a Manchester United player, he says in his press conference, and he explains the importance of it as well. And I'm going to be so honest, I thought he spoke absolutely excellently in his press conference. I really enjoyed watching it. I thought everything he said sort of resonated with me as a Manchester United fan. Like, I'm not giving him an absolute gold medal because he can speak well, but I really enjoyed listening to him. I thought he gave a lot of good insight and I think he gave some good answers as well. So I really like listening to Darren Fletcher and I hope he gets the win as Manchester United manager at the weekend against Brighton. Not only because I like him and I just think it'd be nice to see Darren Fletcher get that win for Manchester United, but mainly because I want to see Manchester United win. I want to see us get to Wembley. I want to see us win a trophy, and that is the main thing about this. It's the only trophy that Manchester United can lift this season. We've got to go out there and do our best to win it. And Brighton at home is going to be a tough game. We're still without players. He gives an injury update as well. He gives updates around Mainoo too and his mood. He speaks absolutely glowingly about the academy and gives some good insight on that side of things. He speaks about Sir Jim, Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox. I think it was a really good press conference with some good details in, but the full focus is on beating Brighton on Sunday. Also to bring into the show, there is a bit of a transfer blow because you have Darren Fletcher out here speaking brilliantly. We're not doing so brilliantly at the top of the tree as a team ahead of us in the Premier League looks like they're being more ambitious than Manchester United. Surprise, surprise. Aston Villa in for Gallagher. Whilst our midfield is clearly light, it is struggling and we could do with an addition, and Gallagher is somebody we've looked at. It looks like Aston Villa are going for Gallagher. They are above us in the Premier League and they're showing more ambition to go and get even further on and stay potentially even in a title race, whereas Manchester United, they have Champions League football right within their grasp and we're not adding Gallagher in, or we're not going adding a midfielder in as it is right now. So I wanted to bring that news into the show as well. But thank you everyone for getting your comments in. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what you thought of everything that Darren Fletcher had to say. Let me know how you're feeling ahead of that Brighton game. Get your comments in. This is a community and we want everyone's opinions. And just in there, Cap or Die says, both pressers from Fletcher have been great. I also think they've been great as well from his standpoint. If you just kind of take Fletcher and what he said, I think he spoke really well, but this one particularly really impressed me. So let's start off. And do you know what? It doesn't mean we're going to go out there and win the game, but I got a really good feeling from it. I have a really good sense of belief now that on Sunday we've got a real chance of going out there and getting through into the next round of the FA Cup. So, first and foremost, regarding injury news, he said it will be the same squad that faced Burnley. So everyone who was in the squad against Burnley is still available. Absolutely gutted De Ligt is still nowhere near back for Manchester United from what we can gather. De Ligt is still not there. It's so frustrating. He's been out for ages now. So De Ligt's not available, but everybody else from that squad will be there. He also asked, tonight you have Morocco against Cameroon, Mazraoui against Mbeumo. He said whoever goes out of that tie will be there for the Brighton game. And Darren Fletcher said it will be too quick of a turnaround for whichever player drops out of the competition, but they'll have them back for the next game. So all eyes on Morocco versus Cameroon tonight, because if Mbeumo goes out, we have him against City. If Mazraoui goes out, we have him against City. Who would you rather see? Look, I think we could do with both of them. But if I could pick one player to play against City, it'd probably be Mbeumo just because of his firepower up front. However, Mazraoui I think is an underrated miss as well. So who would you rather see kind of go out of that competition because they're against each other? I think Ahmad's going to go all the way till the end. He's absolutely lighting up AFCON at the minute, Ahmad, and I want to see Ahmad back, but he's doing so well. I think he's favourite to win player of the tournament as well. So that's interesting. Anyway, hopefully he comes back buzzing with confidence. That's what we want to see. And when he does come back, he's probably going to be playing as a forward player, whether it's on the left wing, whether it's on the right wing. Ahmad might come back with AFCON with a trophy in his hands, and I'm not ruling anyone else out. Morocco might go and win it, Cameroon might go and win it, but I think Ahmad lighting up that competition, whether he gets the trophy or not, he's going to come back full of confidence. And when he's playing in a forward role as well, hopefully that'll be a really big boost when all of our AFCON players come back too. So Darren Fletcher on the FA Cup, he said, It's an important competition and Manchester United are all about winning trophies. We've had good success in recent years. It's an amazing competition. It's the first trophy I won as a player and it's a special tournament. So Darren Fletcher going hard on the fact that Manchester United should always be looking to win trophies and it's a special competition to us. Don't forget the rumours that, and you don't know how much you want to read into them, but it's very strong rumours at the time and it's been well reported that FA Cup win against Manchester City, Darren Fletcher held a meeting with Erik ten Hag and convinced him to change tactics, convinced him to go in with the game plan we ended up doing. Bruno was the false nine and we completely surprised City and we went out there and we won the game. And it was one of the best wins in recent years, in my opinion, and one of the happiest days as a United fan in recent years for me. I was there. It was one of the best. Honestly, I'm not ashamed to say it was one of the best days of my life, genuinely, and people might laugh at that, other fans might laugh at that, but as a relatively young United fan, it was. And again, I'm not kind of just trying to hype Fletcher up, but I think Fletcher, if that is true, does deserve a bit of credit with that. He knows cup competitions really well. He knows them as a player. He knows them as being part of the coaching staff when we beat City. It gives me a little bit of confidence going into that game against Brighton, but it's still going to be a tough game, especially with some of the players that we do have out as well. He also said, we're not in Europe, we're out of the League Cup. It's the FA Cup, an opportunity, a trophy we should be trying to win, and we need to give ourselves every opportunity to win it. He also spoke a lot about the youth players and spoke a lot about how important the academy is and how talented he thinks the academy is. And I think he used his words really well. So I'm going to get into that in a moment, because whereas when Amorim came out and maybe made some questionable comments about the academy, Fletcher, I think, has taken a complete different approach here, and I think it will have given the fans a lot of hope, and I think it's exactly the type of approach a Manchester United manager should be having towards the academy of this football club. Of course, it's a lot easier, for an interim manager to start bigging up the academy, but Fletcher, he's been there, he's been in and around it, he's been under 18s coach, he's been working with Travis Binion as well, who's got a big role in the academy. He knows the academy super, super well, so it was good to get his perspective on it, and I'll bring in some of them quotes in a second as well. Robert Field 2255 says, thought Darren spoke well. If he beats Brighton, give him the interim job, makes a change from having someone we've already tried. Exactly right. Look, it's early doors. It really is early doors, everyone. But I was watching Mark's show this morning and he was talking about how, why are we only looking at ex-players to be part of the options to be an interim manager until the summer, when we appoint a permanent manager, when we go into the market in the summer and hopefully appoint a really, really good permanent Manchester United manager. I mean, it's even hard to look that far ahead right now because other decisions we've made haven't worked out, but we're going to have an interim from now until the end of the season before we appoint a serious permanent manager in the summer. Why is Darren Fletcher not being considered? Why is he not being considered? We've had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer before, haven't we? Carrick, I know, is on the cards. Ruud van Nistelrooy is on the cards. But I'd give Darren Fletcher a couple games. I'd see what you can do. I mean, of course, you can talk the talk, but you've got to walk the walk. People will massively disagree with me, and I'm already prepared for that. But I thought Burnley showed some really promising signs. If we go out there against Brighton and we don't look up to it, then I draw back and I say, look, maybe I was just clinging on to a little bit of hope and, maybe we do have to get somebody else. But I'd give him a really good chance against Brighton to see what he can do in the FA Cup with his team. And then I'd potentially even give him the City game as well. It's a tough, tough game, that. Darren Fletcher's been in and around the football club whilst Ruben Amorim's been there. He's been there for a long time. He knows these players really well. I'd give him an opportunity, not as a permanent manager, but for the interim job. Why aren't we looking at him? I would be looking at him as well. He'd be in my list. So it's just from now until the end of the season. I am hoping, and some people might say naively hoping, that we appoint a seriously top quality manager in the summer. No messing about. We go and get the actual best in class, not best in class and then actually we end up being, in bottom set, which is what we have been for the last 2 years with some of the decisions we've made. I'm hoping in the summer we actually get ourselves together, look ourselves in the mirror, do a review on the past 2 years of the football and decisions we have made at this football club. We have a review of everybody's position inside the football club, director of football, everyone in that hierarchy at INEOS. There's a massive review held. We make the right decisions to get ourselves in a better place, and we actually go and appoint a serious manager, and we do it with football expertise behind it. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen. But from now until the end of the season, it's going to be an interim manager. I would put Darren Fletcher's name in the ring personally, depending on how he does in the next few games. If we have a shocker against Brighton and then we have a shocker against Man City, then obviously not. But I liked a lot of things I saw against Burnley, despite the result, and I would see how the next two games go before I rush to go and get an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, before I rush to go and get a Michael Carrick, because, you know, I think we need to think about this a little bit before we jump to anything that might be the wrong move. But let me know what you guys think. A lot of people are saying about Roy Keane. Look, I would love to see Roy Keane. I would love to see Roy Keane, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Goldbridge spoke about that on the morning show. Roy Keane, I think, would... I mean, you couldn't have him there permanently, but I think he'd be an absolute shock to the system. I think he'd be an absolute wake-up call. I think he would actually set real proper standards within that football club. I think if he had the right character next to him, so say if you had like a Fletcher and a Keane together, I think you could really kind of steady the ship and put some serious standards in place and get everybody to a point where there's actually United standards put into that football club. And do you know what's really interesting? I think there's people actually behind the scenes, not just the players, because the players get a lot of it. And of course the players need to do better. But I think there's a lot of staff within the football club that actually don't realise what United standards should be. And it needs to filter down from top to bottom. And Roy Keane would absolutely, you know, begin that. But there'd be fallouts within about 5 minutes of him being there, wouldn't there? And I don't think from his part of doing wrong, I think he would demand standards that couldn't be met, because we don't have it running from top to bottom in that football club, the standards that Manchester United should be at and what Roy Keane would expect as well. Thank you everyone for getting your comments in. Make sure you smash a like on the video. So what I really, really liked about what Darren Fletcher said is when he spoke about the academy. He spoke about how historically this club's built around the academy. We've got an amazing academy with an incredible record. He also spoke a little bit about the talent that's in the academy, and he said this isn't a slight on anybody else, so arguably Ruben Amorim, because I watched the press conference and he said the question he sort of got asked was, Ruben Amorim, you know, spoke publicly about the academy and maybe got criticised a little bit for that, for, you know, bringing up Harry Armash, Chido Obi, etc. But what's your take on the academy? And you played Shea Lacey, you know, against Burnley. You brought him on and he looked really positive. I don't know if you're going to start him against Brighton, but what's your takes on trusting the academy players, you know, in games like this? And he said, we've got some amazing talent. What I see is a lot of hard-working, humble young players who aren't perfect because they're young and they're still learning. He also said this: we ask too much of young people in society at times. We have to let them learn, educate them, help them, understand they will make mistakes, but with good guidance, all of us play a part in developing them to be Manchester United players and people. From my experience of working with the academy players as individuals and throughout the academy, I deal with them and they are hard-working, honest and coachable kids. Hopefully they can showcase themselves like Shea did. So yeah, me with working with them as individuals throughout the academy, I deal with hard-working, honest and coachable kids. Hopefully they can showcase themselves like Shea did. And you know, imagine you're an academy player listening to that. Can I just say, as an academy player listening to how Darren Fletcher spoke about the academy compared to listening to how Ruben Amorim spoke about the academy, it's two very, very different things. And one of them kind of kills your hope and confidence, and one of them gives you a lot of hope and confidence. If you're an academy player at Manchester United right now, a hard-working, talented academy player that's got hopes of getting into the Manchester United first team, imagine you're listening to a press conference where a manager's saying, well, look, I tried to use the academy players at the back end of last season and now Chido's not in the first team squad anymore, and, you know, Harry Armas is in the Championship. Like Sheffield isn't doing very well there, and I can't remember his exact quotes, but it was kind of saying, well, I used some of the academy players at the end of last season and look at where they are now. It was kind of like that vibe, and it really didn't go down very well at all. Whereas Darren Fletcher is there and he's saying they'll get an opportunity, and if they do, they need to showcase themselves like Shea Lacey did. And one, that gives Shea Lacey a lot of confidence from his little cameo, which I like. Two, it gives the academy players, a sense of hope that they could be part of it very, very soon if they keep doing what they're doing. And he also says, look, nobody has to be perfect. Young players will make mistakes. Young people make mistakes. But we're going to be here to guide you if you do the right things. If you're humble, if you're willing to learn, if you're hardworking, if you've got the talent, you will get a chance. And I just thought it was a completely different way of dressing up the academy. And to me, the way Darren Fletcher said it came from somebody who knows how important the academy is to this football club, who knows how important the academy is for the development of this football club, to the history of this football club. And I think if I was an academy player listening to that, I'd think, oh, you know what? This is where I want to be. And when you listen to what Ruben Amorim was saying, I would have thought, I don't know if I've really got much of a chance. And I think that's kind of a big difference of what I saw from Darren Fletcher speaking about the academy compared to Ruben Amorim. And there is kind of, a factor you've got to bring in here. Darren Fletcher he doesn't know how long he's going to be manager for. He's interim. So he can say what he likes, and, he's not going to have to kind of follow through on it months down the line. Months down the line when, he's not going to get questioned in a press conference saying, well, you were bigging up the academy, saying how hard-working they were, how talented they were, and saying they're going to get opportunity, and you've not given them much opportunity, you're not really using them. He's not got that follow-up because he's only in for a few games. So he can be a bit more open and honest about the academy. He can dress it up a bit more. He can inject more confidence into the listeners, into the fans that are listening. But I thought it was a really good way to speak about the academy. Nobody has to be perfect. Not everybody's going to be perfect. But in this academy, there is really hard-working players. There is a lot of talent, because the narrative was, well, Amorim's not using the academy because they've not got it. They're not very, they're clearly not good enough. He doesn't want to throw them in because they're not good enough to play for United. And Darren Fletcher sort of put a spin on that and was like, there's a lot of talent there, there's a lot of hard-working kids there, and they will get their opportunity if they keep working hard, and hopefully can do what Shea did. And he mentioned how Shea nearly scored the winner. He was this much off. He was direct, he was confident, and it was good to see. So let's see how many minutes Shea Lacey gets in that Brighton game. I'm sure we will at least see him. Whether he'll start or not is a different story. Would you start him? Let me know in the comments. I think it's a big game for him to start, but I wouldn't be totally against it, to be honest with you. And yeah, let's see if anybody else gets a chance. But I really like the way he kind of explained it, and you could see that he had relationships with players from the academy. He had experience of working with the academy, and it really kind of showed in his answer of that question. We have also another super chat from Emily Derry saying, I understand the optimism, but Wilcox of recent blunders is the one making this decision. I have no faith in him or other board members. Competence is not their priority. Emily, I think that's a really, really good point. By the way, how many good super chats does Emily put in, like, on a daily basis? Like, always a really, really good super chat from Emily, to be honest with you. And I think you're right, based off the previous decisions that this hierarchy has made, you're not too hopeful of them making the right decision for interim manager. You're not too hopeful of making the right decision for a summer appointment. You're really, really not. And I think anybody who seriously wanted to see this football club be successful and has any sort of power within that ownership would be sitting down now and doing a full review of the last 2 years in regards to the footballing side of things. You really would be doing. Look, do not get me wrong, the Glazers have made bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has come in and taken over the footballing side of things. I mean, they probably don't even care, to be honest with you, as long as the money's coming in. But you'd be thinking, wouldn't you? I thought you were supposed to be, taking responsibility of the footballing side of things and making us competitive while we looked after the money. we've got worse. We've got worse. So you would be sat there and you'd be having a serious conversation if there is any sort of care whatsoever of Manchester United competing and being at their best, which there should be, because there is financial benefits from that, massive financial benefits from that for them. And I'm thinking about the way they think. You'd be doing a thorough review of everybody's decision making from the top to the bottom over the last 2 years, where we went wrong with Ruben Amorim, because that was supposed to be the INEOS era and taking us back to the top, and it's not worked out. Why it broke down with Dan Ashworth, why we're in this position now where we're looking at interim managers who, have managed the football club before, but I mean, Ollie got sacked by the football club. As much as I love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he did, and we're this close to probably going back to him just as an interim. But it's still, why are we back here? Why are we back in this situation? I would be doing that, and we should be doing that. Whether we are, I don't know, but it's what should be happening for sure. We also have, going all over the shop here because got some good super chats coming in, some good comments, but we'll get through them. He also spoke really well about the confidence of the team and how to react to disappointment, how to react to setbacks. And I thought that was a really good point that Darren Fletcher made as well. Essentially, what he said when it came to the confidence and the setbacks that are happening, he says this will always happen in football, and I'm trying to tell the players this. No footballer, no team in the world can be perfect all of the time. You are going to face setbacks. He said we conceded off one shot on target in the Burnley game, and the other one was off a deflection from a cross. But you have 90 minutes of a football game to put that right, to overcome them obstacles. You can't control the things that go against you. Well, you can control it in some capacity. But when things happen, you've got 90 minutes to change it. You've got 90 minutes to change your fate. And he's explained to them how you come back from setbacks mentally and also while you're on the pitch as well, and certain positions you take up and how you bounce back from that. So he says he's been doing it through video. He says we've analysed the Burnley game and we're going back through that, mistakes that we've made and where we could have done better. I'm talking to them face to face about my experience and how you overcome that in football and how you come back from that. And we're coming together as a team, and we are learning of how to lean on each other in times like that. And we will get stronger and we will get better at dealing with it, and we will get more confident. And he also got asked about the VAR decision on Kyle Walker potentially stamping on Patrick Dorgu, and how I think the question sort of went, Patrick, didn't really make a big deal out of it. Would you actually advise your players to make a big deal out of it? Because then maybe you could have got something from that. Because basically, VAR didn't check. I don't know if anyone's seen that clip where Kyle Walker practically stamps on Patrick Dorgu. And Patrick Dorgu at first is like, what's going on? But then Kyle's like, oh, I'm sorry. And Patrick's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's fine. But it was basically being asked, should your team be a little bit more nasty? Should they be a bit more competitive in that sense and make a meal out of it? So it is checked. So you do get them decisions that can be sort of, small margins where it can massively go in your favour. And what I like from Darren Fletcher is he completely stuck up for his team. He said VAR should have checked it, and by them not checking it, it encourages players to try and get away with things that they shouldn't be getting away with, and it can massively influence the game. He says Patrick is a completely honest and really, really nice guy. So what he thought is that Kyle accidentally did it. He said, I know Kyle, so I'm hoping he accidentally did it and it wasn't purposeful. But I still think VAR should have checked it, and I think we should have had something out of that decision. And he says, I would never advise my players to do that because I want to play the game in a different way. But we should be looking at them incidents, and VAR should be checking everything. And he also was saying how, the goal that was ruled off, it should have been a goal as well. And he was kind of proper backing his team. And I like that from him, and I like the way he explained the situation. So, yeah, I got kind of a real fighting spirit from Fletcher in that press conference also. And he was kind of backing his players, but also saying, well, Patrick isn't like that. He's a confident, humble, and really, really nice guy that saw it as an innocent thing when it might not have been. We've got another super chat from Emily Derry saying, what if Amorim thought the project was not ready to properly develop academy products? I always took the academy story with a pinch of salt. Yeah, like I said, it's much easier for Fletcher to talk about the academy in a positive light because he's not got to follow through and use them all the time because he's probably not going to be here for it as manager, as head coach for that long. So he can talk it up a little bit more. But with Amorim, I think he was just very, very, very risk adverse. Very risk adverse. And I don't think that's what a Manchester United manager should be. And okay, yeah, he probably didn't think the project was ready to develop academy products properly, and I take that point on board. However, he could have played them more. He could have played them more. He could have used them more. You're telling me that in that game against Wolves, Shea Lacey couldn't have come on the pitch after what we saw against Burnley? Come on. In the last few weeks where we've been struggling without Ahmad, without Mbeumo, and we had a player in Shea Lacey that's direct, that's quick, that goes at you, that causes you problems, we couldn't have used him. I mean, I know he's the name that shall not be named, but remember when Garnacho came through and he was a breath of fresh air because he was fearless, he was confident, he scared his opponents. That's what Shea Lacey kind of gave me when he came onto the pitch. He just had that air of fearlessness about him, and we nearly scored the winner from it. That I can't say 100%, but that Burnley game, I think if Ruben Amorim was in charge, I don't think Shea Lacey would have come on. I think what would have happened is he would have I don't think he would have tried to see out a draw. That might be really kind of me being a little bit harsh. But I think he probably would have brought on a half-fit Harry Maguire instead to maybe try and win the game, but also you've still got a defender on there to shore it up at the back so they don't concede. Darren Fletcher, you know, he brought on Mainoo, he brought on Mount, he brought on Shea Lacey. He really sort of went for that game at a risk of conceding as well, and it really nearly paid off for him. So I think, yeah, there's probably academy players that aren't ready, and Amorim didn't want to throw him into the deep end. But I think he also didn't take as many risks as he should have in multiple different departments. In-game management was a massive one, and that included not taking as many risks with letting the academy players go and have a go, especially a talent like Shea Lacey, where you could see he was ready to go and impact the game. I could see from them 10 minutes, he probably needed an extra 10, but I could see he was ready. I could see he was dangerous, and I think Amorim was just very risk adverse, and that included with the academy as well. And it's just, you don't want that from a Manchester United manager. It's like when we were against West Ham at home, and we held on to a 1-0 instead of going for another goal, and we end up drawing 1-1. Don't do that as Man United manager. You go out and you go and try and score another one, and you make, maybe it might be a slightly risky substitution, but you go out there and try and show a little bit. But instead we try to hold on, we make defensive substitutions, or we make like-for-like substitutions is probably a more accurate way of saying it. And that's where I thought Amorim kind of lost us a little bit. And then with the comments about Harry Armas when he's, you know, winning players of the month left, right and centre, and he's looking really good, and it just left a little bit of a sour taste for some people, because even if the academy players aren't fully ready, you should be giving them the confidence, and I think you should be speaking pretty highly about them when you're asked in a public domain, or just, you know, sort of kind of shutting it down completely. But that didn't really happen. Emily also says, I've done that one from Emily. Thank you very much for your super chat as well. Darren Fletcher on, this is more that he said about handling disappointment in football. He said, handling disappointment in football is everything. People are striving for perfection. Look at the game the other night. We conceded one shot on target, and we draw 2-2. You've got to be able to deal with the setbacks constantly. And this was his exact quote on the Patrick Dorgu thing. That's the territory we're in. It didn't look great from Carl's point of view, but I like him, so I hope his intent was to get the ball. VAR should have looked at it. They look at the goal, which was disallowed. Those two situations were massively influential in the game. Also, just a little bit on Harry Maguire's fitness. He got asked about Harry Maguire and if he'd be ready to start the game against Brighton, and he said he's got to manage the load of the players that are returning from injury. He had to do that with Bruno, he had to do that with Mason, he had to do that with Kobe, and he said it's going to be the same situation for Harry Maguire. So I think Harry Maguire, I don't think he'll start against Brighton. And if he did start, he'd be off after half-time, 60 minutes, which is what happened to Bruno. But I don't think he will start because I don't think there's a necessity to start him. I think Aiden Heaven and Lisandro Martinez should be able to play that game. Maybe Lenny Yoro, we'll see what he decides to do. And I think with Maguire, you'll probably see him come off the bench. If that. He's going to manage his load. So, look, Harry Maguire loves a last-minute clutch winner in a cup tie when, you know, it's kind of do or die. So, Harry Maguire might come in clutch on Sunday, we'll have to see, but he might be off the bench. Has he spoke to Sir Jim Ratcliffe? That's the other question that he got asked as well. And this was the response. So, journalists asked, have you spoke to Sir Jim Ratcliffe since you've been in post, since, you know, you came into the position as interim head coach, since Ruben Amorim departed? And he said, I've not. No, I speak to Omar and Jason. That is how the process works. There have been no thoughts or conversation over my future. I lead the team, guide the team. There's been no conversations outside of those two people. And he also said as well, which I think was said because of the comments that have been made recently, or the reports that have been put out there about how Jason Wilcox was maybe having too much influence behind the scenes on Ruben Amorim and the way that he was managing the team. He happened to mention, and they've let me do exactly what I want over these last two games. They've let me manage the team however I want. And I can't remember the exact words, but I remember watching it. And he basically alluded to the fact that he's been left alone to his own devices to do whatever he wants with this team and manage it how he wants, and it's been up to him. So I thought it was interesting that he specifically mentioned that point when there's been so many rumours, so much speculation about how involved Jason Wilcox was in trying to influence Ruben Amorim and the way he set up the team and, you know, the way he coached the team. So Fletcher made it very clear, it's been my decisions for Burnley, it's my decisions against Brighton, and that's how it's been, and I've been doing it myself. So I thought that was a really, really interesting point that might have been discussed in the briefing before the presser, if you know what I mean, because I'm sure that there is a briefing that goes on. These are the questions you might get asked in the press conference, and this is the best way we should handle it. You know, media, PR, that's what happens. So yeah, that was an interesting quote that he said, it's all been me. You know, it's all been me that's been doing this, and there's been no outside noise that is that's influencing what I'm doing. Last but not least, and he said this actually at the start of this press conference, but I'm only just kind of reading back through my notes now to see it again. He got asked about Kobbie Mainoo, and the question was, you know, under Ruben Amorim, it wasn't the easiest for Kobbie. How's he doing? How's he doing around the training ground? Have you spoke to him much? Have you had any conversations with him? And Darren Fletcher said this, Kobbie seems in a good place, but he doesn't give you much. He's like that, it's just his natural way. I know him well, I've seen him around the building and had conversations with him. He's in a good place, he's comfortable with the environment, he's trained well. But he was like, look, I can try and speak to Kobbie, but he doesn't give me much. He just kind of keeps himself to himself. He's quite a quiet character, is what Darren Fletcher was alluding to. So not really much in that we can take, just that Darren has spoken to Kobbie, he knows him really well. He said Travis Binion knows him really well. And there's not really much to say. You can't get much out of him. So you don't really know which way he's feeling because he's not somebody that you can read particularly well. So not really much for us to say about that apart from, look, if you read between the lines, Kobbie Mainoo is probably going to be very, very happy with the current situation. Ruben Amorim didn't fancy him whatsoever. He was completely left out in the cold. He was last choice midfielder behind Manuel Ugarte. Now he's got a real opportunity to come and improve himself again, get back into that Manchester United starting 11. So I don't think it takes a genius to work out that Kobbie Mainoo isn't probably crying himself to sleep because Ruben Amorim's been sacked. He's probably quite happy about it because for his own future, he's got an opportunity now to play for Manchester United and really get himself back into this team. And there's an opportunity that a manager comes in that plays to his strengths, and he's probably going to be very happy about that. We also have some news coming in about Conor Gallagher, so I'm going to get to that in a second. Keep putting your comments in and smashing a like on the video. We have 21st Century Vampire, Beth, are you INEOS and Glazers out? I mean, is that even a question? Is that even a question that I am getting in these comments. I have sat on the show. I keep being labelled with this, right? I keep being labelled with Beth. There's people actually been commenting Beth's on the payroll. Beth's been paid by INEOS and the Glazers to promote them. And I think, do people actually watch the shows and watch what I say? I've sat on the shows multiple times and said that the Glazers' decisions and the way that they've handled this footballing club has completely made us fall in world football. And they are sucking Manchester United out of Manchester United. I've spoken continuously how I was super optimistic. I wanted a full takeover. I really did want a full takeover. But when we got Sergeant Ratcliffe, when we got INEOS, you get what you're given. Do you know what I mean? When it gets to Christmas, you're absolutely, you're there and you're thinking, I really, really, really want... I don't know. What do you want for Christmas? What do you want for Christmas? I really, really want... I'm trying to think. What do I even want for Christmas? This analogy is going so poorly. I can't even think. Say, let's be extreme. I really, really want... My dream car is a Porsche. So I really, really want a Porsche for Christmas. Currently, I'm not driving anything. Nothing's getting me anywhere. I really want a Porsche for Christmas. It gets to Christmas Day and you end up with a Ford Fiesta. Right? Still, anyone who has a car, very lucky and grateful in life. But still, you would have rather a Porsche, that's what you wanted, but you've got what you're given. And I think I'm going to make the best out of this situation. So when Sergeant Ratcliffe and INEOS came in, I was still optimistic and hopeful that the appointments they were going to make and the way they were going to handle the football club was going to massively help us out and hopefully get us on a better trajectory to get back to the top and make the best out of the situation we've got. Since they have come in, I was super hopeful about the Dashforth appointment. I was super hopeful about the Omar Barada appointment. When they decided to sack Erik ten Hag and move on to Ruben Amorim, I was very vocal about the fact that we've wasted money, we've wasted time, but hopefully, they've made some mistakes and they've got to the decision where they've finally got their right man in. Ruben Amorim was going to come in and it had my full backing and I was ready to, kind of let some of the mistakes that had happened since the coming go and hope that everything was going to kind of work out and get on board with it. Since then, it just feels like we're going like this. And I've been very vocal about the decisions that have been made that have set us back. So it frustrates me when I get tarnished with this brush of you're just on the payroll, you're just this, you're just that. I'm absolutely not, and I would never be. And the thought of that is absolutely crazy to me. What I do is I come on the show and I say my honest opinion, and I try and say it in a respectful way, and I try and say it in a way where I welcome other opinions and I can get my opinion out there, and I try and say it in a way where people can kind of understand both sides, but they can clearly hear my opinion coming through. And I've been very vocal on the fact that I wish decisions would have been handled better and things need to change moving forward. So yeah, if people, just want to hear me scream and shout and say things in a real in a tone that is, going to be very exclamatory, then maybe I'm not your cup of tea in that way, but I'll always say my opinion and what I think is best for this football club, and that's what I've tried to do. Prashan Shakarul says, why is everyone suggesting Tuchel when they have issues playing 3-5-2? And why is anyone questioning this? Look, I don't want Thomas Tuchel. I think it might be Thomas Tuchel because we had conversations with him when we were going to sack Ten Hag before we decided to keep Ten Hag, and apparently turned down the job. I don't want Thomas Tuchel, and that might be a bit of a hot take because, people say, well, Thomas Tuchel's done this, he's done that, he's done this, and he's got pedigree, and I think he's a good manager. I don't think he suits what Manchester United are trying to do, and he wouldn't be my first choice as Manchester United manager at this moment in time. And again, you have every right to, want Tuchel. I don't fancy it. I don't fancy Tuchel personally, so he wouldn't be on my list of managers that I'd want. But I'm sort of in the same boat as everyone else right now. I'm not even really thinking about who is my top candidate to be Manchester United in the summer. I'm just trying to think from now until the end of the summer. And speaking of that, I just wanted to bring in this as well to kind of finish off the show. And it is about Conor Gallagher. So this is coming from Ben Jacobs and Alex Crook. So Aston Villa keen on Conor Gallagher. Unai Emery, long-term admirer, with Villa exploring a loan with an obligation to buy Understand Atleti still want permanence to any exit and are not currently prepared to sanction a loan with a buy option. So Atletico Madrid are standing by the fact it has to be a permanent deal for Conor Gallagher if he's going to go. That's probably what's put Manchester United off. But the only thing that frustrates me about this is that Manchester United are absolutely desperate for a midfielder. More desperate than Aston Villa are. Much more desperate than Aston Villa are. And Aston Villa, who are, let me just check the Premier League table right now. Aston Villa, who are in the Premier League table, third on 43 points. Manchester United are 7th on 32 points. Aston Villa, who are third on 43 points, on the same points as City and 6 points behind Arsenal. So technically, if they're in a title race, are being more ambitious to maintain their place in a title race and proper go for it in trying to go and, boost their squad and midfield with a Conor Gallagher sign in January. The Manchester United, who are in 7th place on 32 points and are 3 points off top four. Liverpool in 4th with 35 points. We're in 7th on 32 points. We are 3 points off top four. Yet Aston Villa are being more ambitious to stay in that title race than we are at going trying to secure Champions League football. Look, you might get Conor Gallagher in, and we still might not get Champions League football, but at least you can turn around at the end of the season and say, look, Anderson wasn't available to go and get, Blade wasn't available to go and get, Stiller wasn't available to go and get, but we went and tried. We really went and tried for whoever manager was there, but we're just not doing it. And Aston Villa are, and to me that shows ambition. And this is the thing, I really, really want to be hopeful and support, and I just want Manchester United to be back at the top. I just want us to be winning games. But it's really, really hard to see Aston Villa be more ambitious to try and stay in a title race than we are at going to try and get Champions League football. When it comes to the transfer window, anyway, I do believe, and I've said this on multiple shows, and I keep getting stick for it, I believe our best chance of getting Champions League football managerially was sacking Ruben Amorim. Whether INEOS sacked him for that reason or not, sacked him because he came out against the board, sacked him because of results, it doesn't matter. It all played a part. I think we have a better chance of getting Champions League football with a different manager than Ruben Amorim. That is my honest belief, and people won't like it. But we have a much better chance of getting Champions League football if we go and get a midfielder to help whoever is in the interim job out, whether that be Fletcher, Carrick or whoever. So, just wanted to bring in that bit of transfer news as well. Always Doob says, hey Queen Beth, lovely to see you live again. Who do you want to win today, Cameroon or Morocco? Want Mbeumo or Mazraoui tomorrow back to United? Look, I think both are very much needed. However, I want Morocco to win because I think Mbeumo just gives us a little bit more. He's firepower. He is a fantastic footballer. His impact at the start of the season was brilliant, and I really want to see Mbeumo back for that City game. So I would say I want Morocco to win. Sorry, Mbeumo. I know, you want to win AFCON with your country, but I want you back playing for Manchester United in the derby, and he's a big game player. But look, everyone, thank you very much for watching the show. Smash a like on the video if you've not already. Happy Friday, everyone. I know it's been a very tumultuous week. I know it's been a very difficult week for a lot of us. I'm just trying to keep positive, and I'm just hoping that things are going to change, and we are going to be looking forward to better results, a good FA Cup run, and hopefully that all starts on Sunday. And Darren Fletcher can get a win whilst he's interim manager for however long it might go on for. But thank you for watching the show. Smash a like on the video if you've not already, and I will see you on the next one.